G'day, welcome to Mt.Coramba Apiculture. It's Sunday the 16th of April 2023. Beautiful day up here at Nimboida. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning, so bees are flying nicely. Lovely sunny day. Starting to get a little bit of a chill in the air as autumn and winter heads our way. So the plan today is just go through all of these hives. Most of the doubles are going really nicely, so I'll be looking for opportunities to just take a bit of a few resources out of these doubles and put them into those little 3-frame nukes I've got up there, which are now in 6-frame boxes. So in general terms, I'll be looking at just taking out a shake of bees, of nurse bees, and putting them into the nukes, and maybe a half frame of honey or some uncapped nectar that can just go in there and give them a bit of a tick along. And I'll take the empty frame of foundation out of that nuke and put it back in the larger two box hives. So there's a couple of issues there I want to look at. I think there's one with a drone layer. It was a double last week, and I just didn't have much time up here, so I've taken the honey super off and put it on another hive here so it doesn't get knocked around by beetles. And I'll just see what I can do with this possible drone layer today. One of the other little nukes as well, it's got chalk brood in it, so I'll try and deal with that as well, just to pick them up before winter. So that's the plan. I'll film as much as I can that isn't too boring, and hopefully make a video out of it. Thanks for watching. I'm just revisiting this hive that we looked at last week. Possibility that it's a drone layer, so drone laying queen or worker, I'm not too sure. We'll have a quick look and see what I want to do with it. I've already taken the second super off it, so that's sat on a hive up behind me, a nice strong hive. The reason I do that is because I don't want to lose all the work these bees have done, so it's really important if you've got a hive that's failing, get any resources off it that you don't want to lose, because you know, losing a few bees in here is no big issue, but 10 frames of honey and wax and pollen and whatever other resources they put in there is a big loss. So never let hives weaken or die off to the point where the beetles get them. It's just a terrible shame, and there's no need for it to happen. Let's go through this and see what's going on. Certainly low bee numbers. It's never a good sign. No brood there, but lots of beautiful pollen and capped honey. So that's the sort of thing you don't want to lose. The beetles will certainly get stuck into it. So there's a bit of brood here. It's certainly sitting up like drone cells, so that gives me the impression that it's a drone layer. Either the queen's failing or there's a drone laying worker in there. So just looking for the sign of a queen. Once again, there's cells sitting up like what they tend to do too when they're, oh, there's a queen there. So yeah, just wondering what to do. Alright, so leave that out so I know where she is. That's the end of the brood. So that hive's really weak. There's not many bees left in there. So yeah, I think, you know, looking at the time of year, 16th of April, they're not going to come into anything substantial, and they're just going to struggle through and get weaker and weaker if she's only laying drones. So I think we'll call it quits on this hive. Just find that queen again. There she is. So just humanely pincher. She's gone. So what I'm going to do is take this super off and put it on a stronger hive over here. So what I could do is shake all these bees out in the ground and get them to fly back to another hive, but I think I'll just take this straight off. There aren't many bees there. I'll just take it straight off and set it on the other hive. I won't even paper unite it. They'll sort themselves out, and there's really not a big loss there in terms of bee numbers. But yeah, I definitely don't want to lose all the work that they've done in this hive. So that's the benefit you've got if you've got a few bees around you. You can lose the odd hive like this, and while you're down in a number, you've lost nothing in resources. So I'd much rather give this to a hive that's going to use those resources than have this dwindle away and have the beetles or the wax moths knock it around. So that's what we'll do. So during these inspections, I've identified a nice strong hive. That's a really strong double there, so I'll go and grab this soup and just whack it on top. So that's it, that's all I need to do. That soup is now nice and safe in terms of loss from beetles or wax moth, and yeah, those few bees that are in there will sort themselves out. So that's that hive saved. So another problem hive here. I looked at it last week and I found some queen cells in it, so it could be nothing, or it could be struggling to replace a queen. So we'll just have another look and see how they're going. It's a temptation for people to see a queen cell and think I've got to do something right now. My advice is just to keep an eye on them and see what they do, and sometimes they resolve the problem themselves, or the problem, if there is one, becomes more evident if you just give them a bit of time. So one thing I noticed going through all these hives, these big strong doubles, is that they've really backed off in the brood production. So maybe they know something we don't. Guess we'll see how the season goes, but a few of these hives are really were quite strong in. Well, they had a lot of brood in the frames, but now there's not so much, so we'll see how things go. So there's a nice frame of seal brood there. More seal brood, and I'm just looking for eggs and larvae. The sun's just gone behind a cloud, but there's young larvae in there, so we've still got a queen there. At the end of the brood, again just looking for eggs and larvae. It's a good example of how much they backed off in that brood production. So still kind of suspicious about what's going on in here. Let's just go back to look at this one here. Fortunately, that sun's disappeared on me. There's a queen there. She looks like she could be unmated, just the way she's running around. She's quite small. There she is there. So at least we've identified that there is a queen in the hive. So let's put this back together and just note on the lid that we've seen a queen. So she may have just started laying, which I doubt, but looking at the timeline. But yeah, look, let's just put it back together and see what happens. I'll just make a note that there's a queen in there, and we'll give them another week or two and see what they do. So that's good. Not ideal, but it is what it is, and it's just what I mean by just let the bees do their thing and just observe, and until you're absolutely sure that it is queenless, just leave them alone and let them sort their own stuff out. But yeah, certainly not a hive I'd want to be grafting out of or doing anything like that. It'll get requeened. If they get through the winter, it'll get requeened. So that's good. Let's just go through a few of these little free-frame nukes and see how they look. Those ants. So remember, last time we looked at them, we pulled the 2 frames of brood back and put a frame of foundation just between the wall and the brood. So what they're starting to do is just pull that frame of foundation out and putting some stores in. So it tends to be what they're all looking like. So that's good. Take a look at this frame of brood. Now the original hive. So there's a nice brood pattern. They're doing really well. Lovely. Same the other side. It's a nice young queen going really well. More brood. Same again on that side. So they're doing really nicely. And frame of honey there, bit of pollen. So they've got all the resources they need. I was talking at the start of the video that I might throw some extra bees into these little nukes, but I think on hindsight I'll just leave them go. What I'm going to do is get some sugar feeders in the freezer. So I'll get them up in a week or two, and I'll pull these 2 frames out and replace it with a sugar feeder, and just keep pumping them up with sugar syrup just to make life a bit easier for them. Instead of going out and foraging, they'll have all the resources they need there. So that'll just give them a bit of a kick along. So yeah, they look great. Once again, bees covering a couple of frames there. It's that frame of foundation I put in a few weeks ago. Starting to draw that out nicely, so, and put a few resources in there. Let's have a look at the original frames from the split that I did. Yeah, and there's a nice young queen going really well. So just chuffing along with the resources they've been given, so they're not going too hard, but certainly making inroads into that hive and into those frames. So second frame of brood, looks good, nice and healthy. Let's have a look at this other frame out of the original 3-frame nuke. So yeah, there's some nice resources in there, nectar and capped honey and a bit of pollen. So nothing on that side. So yeah, once again I'll bring some frame feeders back and pull these 2 out, replace it with a frame feeder, and pump a bit of sugar into them just to put a bit of vigour in them. So let's look at one more nuke. Yeah, looking really good. So, there's our frame of foundation that we put in between the brood frame and the wall a couple of weeks ago. And there they've drawn that out nicely, so they're doing really well. It's a frame of brood. It's really heavy frame, so quite a lot of resources in there. There's some nice healthy brood and plenty of capped honey. And third frame out of the nuke. You can see that's filling up with nectar really nicely. So yeah, once again we'll bring some frame feeders up and just, even if we're going to overwinter them as 4 framers, and with a feeder in there, and yeah, they'll kick off again in the spring. So that's the plan for them. I won't bore you with the rest of these nukes. In fact, I probably won't just look at them, I'll just leave them alone today. So that's all done. As I said when I started, I had planned to pull a few resources out of these larger hives and put them into the nukes, but now having looked at them, they're sort of really backed off with brood production, so I think I'll just leave them be and let them do their own thing. As I said, going through those little nucleus hives, the 3 I did, I think I'll bring up some frame feeders as soon as I can get a permit to do that, and just pop them in there and just reduce them back to a 4 frame nuke into a 6 frames, and I'll have the option to put a bit of sugar syrup into them if I need to do that. So I think that's a better strategy than trying to fill them into that 6 frame stuff at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. So I've dealt with that failing queen in that single hive. I've just squashed her and thrown her out and put that super on another hive. Never throw good after bad, and it's hard for people to get their head around it, but don't muck around with hives that are just failing. Just look after the resources they got on them and let the bees go. They're of no value to you. You don't want those genetics in your apiaries, so just get rid of them. Keep those resources and pick it up again in the next spring. Just make some more splits and reuse those resources in the splits. So also had a look at another hive there with a looks like it's gone queenless, so I'll just see what that looks like next week and make another decision on there. So there's plenty of strong hives here I can throw those supers onto. So that's good. It's come a bit overcast here now, nice and cool, but yeah, we'll leave the bees alone and hopefully get up next weekend and have another look and see how things are going. Thanks for watching.